Welcome to another post-game edition of the Silver Bulletin. My name is Aaliyah Jackson, and with me I have Colin Gay and Wyatt Crozier, and we're here in West Lafayette, where Ohio State just suffered its first loss to Purdue, 49-20. Now, guys, we all thought this game was a trap game coming in. We knew it was a big possibility for this Ohio State team to lose to Purdue. What happened tonight?
I'm gonna let you take it first, because all right. I just want to, since like week 2, Colin's been talking about this Purdue game as a trap game, so I just want to let him start this conversation, because I was always kind of like, yeah, Purdue looks good, but I think Ohio State's gonna beat him. Colin, go ahead.
Good way to call me out like this.
You wrote it.
I guess. I think the first thing that I saw going in was Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore was kind of the guy that was he had everything that Ohio State hated in terms of guarding in the secondary. He had speed, he had ability to get open. He was just explosive, and that was not a good matchup for Ohio State. And facing a guy who loves to throw to him, who knows how to hit him, who knows the spots that where he's good in terms of hitting him. That's the way that Ohio State was beat defensively, was Rondale Moore and David Blough. And really offensively, it comes back to the same stuff that Ohio State has been dealing with all year long, and it's been the offensive line and it's been the running game. If this stat stays true, I'm not sure in terms of yards per carry, but Ohio State has regressed each game that it's played in terms of yards per carry between Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins. And really, one of the main storylines that come out for me is, this Ohio State offense, it's one-dimensional and hasn't hurt them. It hurt them tonight in West Lafayette.
Yeah, it's like a broken record at this point. It's the same issues that Ohio State's had week after week that we continually point out, except this time it was against a team that was good enough and could exploit those weaknesses more than any other team. I think they ended up getting up to 3 yards of carry at the end just from like a couple quick runs at the end when it wasn't really a big deal. But Dobbins and Weber couldn't get it going once again, and this time it took Haskins to throw over 70 passes. I don't know the exact number, breaking the completions record, the attempts record, the yards record, something that doesn't really matter just because of how much he was throwing. But it's just the same sort of things. And then, like against Minnesota, those slant routes that were killing him all game, when you have someone like Rondale Moore that's killing you on slant routes, he's going to go for touchdowns. And they did it the whole game, and Blough exploited them from start to finish.
Now, this offense had over 400 yards of offense, but they only scored 20 points. They struggled tremendously in the red zone all night. Is this something that they'll be able to overcome in the future?
It's a lot of that run game again. If you can just get a couple yards on a first down, a second down, that really helps you moving the red zone. You can get some plays in the end zone with some passing after that. But they just look lost. Every time they shorten that field, they just don't have anybody open anymore. They went 0 for 4, I think, in the red zone. They didn't get a single. All their touchdowns were long. It's something they can fix. People have talked about the Tate Martell idea. Urban Meyer even said it's a possibility. It might help them to get an extra option in there once in a while. I think it's fixable, but right now it just is completely struggling.
Ohio State is viewing this offense, they're not a run-based offense anymore. They made that clear after the Indiana game, after the Minnesota game. They're showing it's not a priority anymore. And really, from what I've seen, and maybe this is a stretch, but it almost seems like they don't want to test the run game in the red zone. And it's not something that, it's something that they say needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. But I haven't seen any progress in terms of it actually being fixed. And luckily for Ohio State, they're going into a bye week and they have 2 talented backs. It'll be interesting to see how they respond, especially going into Nebraska on November 3rd.
Now, this defense, early, they looked like they kind of had things figured out. The defensive line was getting pressure, but ultimately they started faltering in that second half. This defense is riddled with injuries. Are they going to be able to turn it around in this last stretch of the season?
It's a tough question.
Well,
so I give it to you.
No, it is a tough question. And I think, just based on injuries, I think the one before we go into the defense, we saw Austin Mack get carted off. We don't know his status yet. And am I forgetting one? Or I thought there was another one. I don't remember. We'll see.
Long game.
Read our stuff. I think defensively, I think early on you did see a lot of defensive pressure, and that was encouraging, especially with the loss of Nick Bosa. They know they were gone, and you saw Draymond Jones, Jonathan Cooper stepped up. I was really impressed with him early on. But really, it's the same things that are plaguing this defense. It's slant routes, it's quick receivers. Opposing offenses know how to beat Ohio State, and Ohio State's not doing anything to stop it.
Yeah, the defensive line didn't look good early, and then I didn't really notice it much afterwards. I mean, the loss of Damon Arnett all game, he didn't travel with the team. That hurts. That hurts the secondary that was already a little weak. And then I think Okudah went down with an injury. Oh, it was Sheffield.
I think it was Jeffrey Okudah.
It was
Okudah? Okay. Someone went down with an injury. I probably was Okudah, and I think he may have come back, but it's just continually like he might have been playing hurt. They may have just needed him to step up and play. I think it just shows that this secondary is weak, and it's weak with the injuries, and it's just something that needs to be fixed. And I don't know, I think it's mostly health at this point. Like, they may be a strong secondary with all of their pieces, but with only some of them, they can be clearly exploited against a team like Purdue that just has such a high-powered passing offense.
Now, moving forward, this Ohio State team still has Michigan State and Michigan on its schedule. Do you guys see them getting wins in both those games?
I know Colin and I have been talking about Purdue. If they lost at Purdue, they might come out and beat Michigan because it was like that sort of wake-up call. It's like sort of against Iowa, they did the same thing, and then they end up killing Michigan State the next week. I could see that. I want to see Nebraska before I make that answer. I think this team could either come out and just annihilate Nebraska, who's 1-6. I could see that, or I could see them kind of like not giving up, but like looking like a lesser team of themselves. I think it depends. After Nebraska, I think we'll get a better picture of that.
This team got stomped tonight. And I think if this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. If this isn't a wake-up call, then I think something needs to change in terms of if they come out sluggish against Nebraska, something needs to change. They have 2 weeks to prepare for this, for Nebraska. That's what they have to focus on now. It's not looking forward to Michigan State, Michigan, Big Ten championship playoff. It's about Nebraska, and I think that's what this team needs to focus on.
All right, 49-20 is the final here at Purdue. For Colin and Wyatt, my name's Aaliyah Jackson, and thanks for watching another post-game edition of the Silver Bulletin. We'll see you back here next week.